everybody, Steve here, and today I'm here to talk to you about Football Bones from PT Games. This was designed by Tim Plum, released in 2013. It's for 1 or 2 players, and the game's going to take you anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to play out. Now, this game is by far the heaviest game that I've reviewed so far, both in terms of the weight of the components and the depth of the gameplay. There's 15 different offensive plays you can call. There's 4 different defenses, although you can vary up how those defenses are played out. Each individual player has his own card, meaning that 4th-string running back and your 3rd-string quarterback are going to have a card of their own, as well as various strategies that you can call during the game. Now, does all this depth add up to a really good gameplay, or does it just bog it down in the details? Well, let's take a look at what comes inside the box. I'll go through a couple samples of play, and then I'll tell you what I think after further review. So here's a look at everything that comes inside the box, and as you can see, this makes quite a footprint on your table, so you're going to need quite a bit more space to play than most of the other games that I've reviewed. First, you get a nice sturdy cardboard box with a flip top. You get 4 game boards, 2 for offense, 2 for defense, and so you'll actually lay out all of the players on these boards, and then you'll just go between them depending on which team has the ball. Then there's a football field itself where you can keep track of where the ball is and where the first down marker is. There are 2 10-sided die included in the game, and you'll read then the black die first, then the white, to get a number from 1 to 100. You'll use this for all the results in the game. There's several tokens that come with the game. Some designate when a player gets injured, how many plays he's out for, and then some designate when a player is winded and how many plays they need to sit out. And then there's these red markers, and you'll use these when you're playing head-to-head on these game boards, and you'll just simply say what play you're calling and what player it's going to. And so these boards have an offensive side and then a defensive side. You get the rule book itself. It's a very thick rule book with not a lot of space in it that goes through all the different plays of the game, and then it even tells you how you can do a draft league, and then finally it gives you some examples of how you can run a solitaire game. Then there is a trifold board. This is what you'll be getting all the results for the game off of. It's double-sided. There's a bifold chart for solitaire rules, where you can have the AI determine what play the other team's going to call and which player the ball is going to go to. And then there's penalty charts. There is a basic penalty chart that comes with the game, and then when you order a season, you'll actually get individualized penalty charts for each team, and those are double-sided. And then finally you get 3 different score sheets, one that you can keep track of individual statistics on, one that you keep track of a play-by-play, and then finally you have this one where you keep track of the time for the game, where you'll mark off the time on there. So we'll take a closer look at a couple of the player cards, and then I'll show you how a running play works and then how a passing play works. First, we'll take a look at the offensive side of the field, and you'll see that there's a spot on the board for several different formations, depending on what you can want to do. So you could have 3 running backs on the field. You can have your quarterback under center. You can have him in a shotgun formation. You can have 4 different wide receivers out, 2 tight ends, or you can bring in extra blockers, depending on what you want to do. And then each of the boxes where it's someone who's going to be handing the ball, either running or receiving, it'll have a corresponding box on the defensive side that'll tell you who's going to cover that player in pass coverage. And so I won't go through all of the results on the cards because there is quite a bit to them, but just to give you a quick overview, the quarterback will have completion ratings and then also rushing ratings, and we'll show you how that works in a pass play. Your linemen are going to have run and pass block ratings. The higher the number, the better. Your running backs are going to have both rush ranges and receiving ranges. And then your wide receivers, unless they ran the ball at some point, will only have receiving ranges on the card. And then you'll also have cards for your place kicker and your punter, and then your kickoff return and your punt return, as well as there's even a separate card for kickoffs. Some teams have different players who do the kickoffs and the field goals. And then you'll have at the bottom of your field, you'll have all your bench players that you can swap in and out during the game, depending on what different formations you want to put in, or if a player gets injured or needs to rest. So we'll flip around, we'll look at the defensive side of the field, and then we'll go through a couple samples of play. Now on the defensive side of the field, again, there's several places you can put players, depending on what kind of formation you want to go to, whether you're doing a 3-4 defense, a 4-3, if you want to stack the box, all those things you can do in here. However, on the defensive side of the field, there'll be places where people will get a bonus depending on what their listed position is. So you have a little bit of strategy in there, depending on how you want to shuffle up your defense, and also depending on what the offense is calling and what players they have on the field. And then all of the defensive players are going to have the same 7 ratings on their card for tackles, rushing, fumbles, defense, pass deflects, interceptions, and then fumbles. And we'll show you how all those numbers come into play as we go through a sample. So first we'll run through a run play, and then I'll show you a pass play. So for our first play, we're going to run a simple sweep left with Danny Woodhead. So we'll mark that on the sheet. And Baltimore will call a pass defense. So we'll roll the dice, and we get a 19. And that tells us to look at the left guard and the left tackle for New England. And so what we're going to do, you're going to look at those 2 cards and total up their run block. So it's a +2 and a +3 for a total of 5. So that means we're going to add 5 yards to our result on the next roll. So we roll the dice again, and this time we get a 53. So we look at Woodhead's card, and it tells us that he rushes for 4 yards, but then we'll add the 5 from the good block that they got for a total of 9 yards. Now, just to show you some examples of what would happen with the defense, if they had called a run no key, then they would have guessed right that there was a run play being called, and they would have subtracted 2 yards from the final result, so they only would have gained 7. And then if they would have called a run and they would have keyed on running back 1, which in this case is Woodhead, then they would have subtracted 4 from the play, so only would have gained 5 yards. So you can see how drastically the defense can change the result of a play. Okay, so next we'll try a pass play, and we'll do a quick pass to Welker, who's in the flanker position. And we'll have the defense in a pass defense. So we'll roll the dice, and it's a 3-4. So first we look at the pass receiver selection table, and for a quick, that tells us that we get the result of original, so that means it's going to go to its intended receiver, which is Welker. And we're going to see who he's being covered by. So we look at this box, and it says pass coverage is box O, which on the defense, that's Corey Williams. And we look at his pass defense rating, and it's a 1. So it's actually going to add 1 to the completion range on Brady's card. And we'll roll the dice again, and this time we get a 5-2. And that tells us that it's a completed pass. Look on Brady's card. Anything from a 1 to an 84 under the quick pass is a completion. So he completes it, and then we're going to roll one more time to see how far it went. The result is a 9-1. So we'll look at Welker's card under the Q, and under 91 that tells us it went 15 yards. So a quick pickup of 15 yards on that pass to Welker. Now, just show you another example. Let's say that our first roll had been a 9-3. So we'll look at the chart, and at 9-3 that tells us that it's a pass rush. So what happens in that case is we're going to add the pass rush value of everybody on row 1 in the defense, which is the defensive line, and we'll get a total of 11. And we're going to compare that to the pass block rating of everybody on the O-line, and then any running backs were back on blocking duty, which in this case was Woodhead. And that also was a total of 11. And so there's no change. If the defense had been higher, we would have added to the sack range of Brady, and if the offenses had been higher, then we would have subtracted. So now we're going to roll the dice again, and this time we're going to use the chart at the bottom, which is specifically for the pass rush rating. So we'll roll the dice again, and this time we get a 5-2, which tells us that it's a incomplete pass. So Brady got flushed out of the pocket, threw it away, incomplete pass. So that'll just show you some of the different results you can get on the pass plays. Okay, so there's a quick overview of football bones. Now, there are several aspects of the game that I didn't cover. There are several advanced strategies that you can call, both on offense and defense, so you can add even more depth to your game. However, I just wanted to show you guys what a basic run play and pass play looked like, just so you could get a sense on whether this is a game for you or not. Now, as for me, I found that the game got really bogged down in all the different numbers that you're keeping track of, all the different tables that you have to refer to, and sometimes it felt like it took 2 minutes just to find out that your running back got a 2-yard gain. So I felt like for all the depth that's involved in it, that at the end of the day, it's not a lot of payoff, especially for the amount of time that you need to invest in the game, not to mention the real estate that you need to have on your tabletop to actually play the game. However, I will say that all of the components are really great. They do look nice when you get them out on your tabletop. And with the demo box that you get now, they just lowered the price. It's $27, so you get all of this, and you get the last 4 conference championship teams from the previous season. So while I can't really recommend this to anybody except the really hardcore strategy fans who are looking for a super deep football experience, I will say that if anything you saw here interests you, go check out the PT Games website. There is a lot to like here. However, just for my taste, I felt like it was too long a time investment for the payoff that you actually got from the game. Okay guys, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. My name's Steve. I'll see you next time after further review.